Welcome to the Warroom, the AFC North division. I'm Mason, and I'm rolling with my guy Liam. And listen, this division, it's a war zone. You've got blood feuds like the Ravens, Steelers, and the Browns, Bengals, and three teams finished above 500 last year. This ain't casual football. This is an all-out dogfight.
Facts, man. I mean, today we're breaking down the Browns quarterback disaster. I mean, what do we think of Sean, Joe, Kenny, Sanders, and Gabriel? What are we doing? Steelers shipping out George Pickens. What a surprise that was. The Bengals decided to play flag football. What are they doing? And Lamar Jackson still can't shake that playoff question. And somehow Derrick Henry just landed the biggest running back deal ever at 31. The division is unhinged, man.
And we're not just talking about headlines here, man. We're going to be giving you projections, playoff paths, and who walks out alive of this division. This is your first stop in our full NFL core path, so let's lock in.
Let's go.
This is the War Room, presented by the Sideline Journal. The film doesn't lie. Let's get to work.
So welcome back to the fourth episode of the War Room. Over kind of the next 8 to 10 weeks during this slow, busy season of the off season, myself and the War Room analyst over there, Liam, we're going to be going through every single NFL division, giving a complete deep dive, roundup, in-depth look throughout the off season. So if your favorite teams in this division, be excited. You're going to get your fix that you've been waiting for. And we thought the best way to kick this off is the historic AFC North. You know, they're known to be the most blood-feudy rivalry division. And right now they're making a bunch of headlines. I mean, you can just look at where the Browns are at right now in that quarterback room.
Yeah, I mean, I love this division. This is where a ton of history came from. You know, the Baltimore Colts originally. You know, the Steel Curtain back in the 70s and 80s. A lot of great history here. And then the Browns right now, I mean, that is just the talk of the town. What are they doing with all these quarterbacks? And that's not even their biggest problem. I mean, you know, they just signed Myles Garrett, but who else is on that defense? Then offense, you got Jerry Jeudy as your number one option. But what's happening with Nick Chubb?
Yeah, franchise legend that they're just kind of leaving out to dry. I mean, it's wild, and I mean, really, this is a rudderless, franchise. Like I go all the way back to in the offseason for a solid 3 days. We thought they were gonna trade and get rid of the franchise, their current face of the franchise, their DN Myles Garrett, and he holds them over hostage, saying that he doesn't want to be a Hall of Famer. He wants to win rings, but then it's like, no, we'll give you $42 million fully guaranteed, and then I guess it was about the money, and it just shows the direction this franchise is headed in, and it's not one to be competitive, it's one without a direction.
You know, I'd like to just go back real quick and break down what they've gone through. I mean, the Browns sucked for so long, all right? They looked for something. They finally got Johnny Manziel. They thought he was going to be the guy to turn around. He was fun to watch, and he was pretty good, but not good enough. So they move on with him. They sucked for a little bit more. Then who do they draft? OU guy, Baker Mayfield. Finally, they have some life. Finally, they have stuff going for them. They make the playoffs. The Browns fans go wild. And then this is just where I cannot stand the Browns, their ownership, and their coaches for the past. The guy that gets you there gets hurt. You force him to play. And then he's the scapegoat. You know, you said, hey, this guy, Baker Mayfield, the guy that got us here, it's his fault. He's been playing hurt. He stinks. Ship him out. They get rid of him. And then what do they go through? We're back at the Deshaun Watson. That was one of the worst deals ever. They're stuck in that. They went back. They got rid of Baker just because he had, some bad games because he was injured. And now they went 10 years back signing Deshaun. And now look at this problem. I mean, when you talk about the Browns right now, I'm really mad at the ownership and the coaches from the past couple of years because all of this disaster is on them.
100%. And I mean, I love the history lesson you took us on because, I mean, from a front office coach's perspective, Jack Dorsey is known for being an amazing talent evaluator. For everyone that doesn't know, he was the one that built the Chiefs dynasty drafting-wise, and he actually was the GM that traded up and drafted Patrick Mahomes. He's known to be an asshole. He kind of rubbed the wrong way with Andy Reid, so they kicked him to the curb. And where did he go? He went to the Browns. And what did he do? He drafted Myles Garrett. He then drafted Baker Mayfield and Denzel Ward. Franchise corner, franchise DN, and a franchise quarterback. Yeah. It's not his fault that the Browns were stupid enough to be F it, we're going to get rid of him. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield now. He found a home with the Buccaneers. He's lighting up the league, 41 touchdowns this past season. I love the story about Emeka Egbuka getting drafted, and it just kind of tells you who Baker Mayfield is as a person. He, and it's not reported on. He's not the one doing it. People just found out about it, that he's always been doing this. He's brand new to the team. He goes and gets Emeka Egbuka, his wife, and his young kid, takes them all out to lunch, gets them the playbook, takes them around town, and makes them feel part of the organization. And the Browns got rid of that guy for a basically serial rapist in Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love Baker. Who doesn't? I mean, we may be a little biased coming from Oklahoma because he was on every Saturday. He was just so fun to watch running down the field with his headband, and he wasn't afraid to let you know what he was thinking. But yeah, that's where this problem starts. They had an opportunity with him to build a team around him, and they tried. And then, like I said, he was the scapegoat. They blamed it all on him. So, just with the Browns where they're at right now, I mean, like, highs and lows from last year. You had Jameis Winston. He set the Browns single-game passing record. If you didn't know that, 497 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. But it wouldn't be Jameis Winston without throwing some picks. He had 3 interceptions in that game against the Broncos. Myles Garrett had 14 sacks, 22 tackles for a loss, 40 solo tackles, 3 forced fumbles. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. I'm pretty sure he's on track to do that.
Absolutely.
And then just the last high, I mean, there wasn't many. That offense looked so terrible. But, when Jerry Jeudy got cooking, he had 90 receptions, 1,200 yards. That's 6th in the NFL. And he has a single-game receiving yard for the Browns, but only 4 touchdowns. So, if you want to talk about fantasy football right there, I think he's a good value guy right now. But, Mason, what do you think of any highs for the Browns? Can you think of any others?
The bright side of it is I do think that you had a good draft for where you're going. So, I mean, defense, you still got Denzel Ward and a really talented secondary led by him. You have Myles Garrett. You're adding Mason Graham at 5th overall. That is a great 1-2 punch for your front 7. I love the pick at the top of the 2nd round with Carson. Because unfortunately with JOK, he's out. His career might be over because of Stinger, but I do think that who you drafted at the top of the 2nd round fits perfectly in there. I love the Quinshon Judkins pick. I think he'll be a workhorse back for you. So you've got some pieces there that's going to keep the ship afloat. And I think that's, unfortunately, Browns fans, what you have to make peace with is that this ship is just trying to stay afloat long enough to get out of this contract. And you're just throwing crap at the wall to see what sticks at quarterback until really the out in the contract is next season where you can absorb that dead cap hit. And I'm going to tell you here, my prediction is the Browns' plan for trading back to pick up that 1st round pick is for next season. You're going to try to make whatever gamble that you can to pick your franchise quarterback, because you can go catch it, on the Sideline Journal's Instagram. My hot take is that I think Drew Aller is going to be the QB1 of that draft, because I'm sorry, Arch Manning, he's staying in Texas. He's not coming out. He's going to stay. It's kind of been documented, reported. That's my take. But I think between Lenore Sellers, Clay Cubnett, and Drew Aller, you're going to have some exciting options at quarterback. So if this season what you can do is you hit on Mason Graham, you hit on Quinshon Judkins, Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett lead your younger pieces on defense. On offense, Jerry Jeudy emerges as a true number 1 wide receiver. Your offensive line stays healthy. Kevin Stefanski reestablishes his offensive identity around boot naked, play action passing, and a physical run game. You can have something to build off of this season. So, I mean, Liam, what do you think? Are we about to get a legacy season from a 41-year-old Joe Flacco?
I don't see it. I mean, last episode I talked about how I never liked when a team reclaims a player that they threw aside a couple years before. And with the Browns organization and how they are, they're going to be Joe Flacco. Remember what you did 2 years ago here? Remember that amazing run we went on with Amari Cooper and how great we looked? That offense was the best it's looked in years. They're going to say, go out there week 1 and do that again. And week 1's going to have some troubles. And week 2 is going to have some troubles. And week 3, they're going to be looking at him like, why can't you do what you did 2 years ago? And that's just what they're going to do. So then they're going to, brush him aside. And then they're going to look at the quarterback room with Kenny Pickett and whoever else is left, if Kenny Pickett still is. and they're going to say, all right, who's going to step up? And are they going to waste away Dylan Gabriel and Shador? And like you said, are they just going to look for the quarterback next year? I mean, you drafted 2 this year, so why don't you look for next year's draft, I don't know who's going to be a franchise guy, whether on the O-line or a wideout or a D-back or a safety, but I mean, I think the Browns they just keep on digging their grave and they just keep on going lower and lower every single season for the past decade. I feel bad for Browns fans.
Yeah, and I mean, it sucks because it starts from the top. I mean, what makes the NFL so interesting to me is that your owner, top down, if you have good ownership, it's what's going to make your organization. And you can always look at the same type of organizations that have a bunch of drama around them, a bunch of dysfunction. And you can normally trace it back to the owner or a meddling GM that has too much power. And I mean, I think with the Browns, what sucks is the Haslam family is terrible in ownership, and I think that they meddle too much. And I mean, look at the quarterback room. They take Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round. A lot of the fans don't understand it. I don't understand it even from a scheme football perspective. Nobody does. But Kevin Stefanski, obviously, him and Andrew Berry, that's their guy. You take a quarterback then. Well, then you can literally watch in their draft room how they are so unhappy and just like, because they drafted Shadur Sanders right after. And to me, that's exactly what the owner is doing there. So if you've got an owner that won't empower your coaches, won't empower your decision makers, won't empower your franchise, and then you draft a media circus and Shadur Sanders, I feel terrible for Browns fans. As soon as any quarterback is not performing, it's put in Shador, put in Shador, put in Shador. And if he's not talented enough, and the coaches know that, it's putting the coach in a lose-lose situation because then he's going to play the guy, and then the coach is going to get blamed for the quarterback sucking when maybe the quarterback just sucked all along.
Yeah, I mean, did they draft Shador for tickets and for media and attention? Because, I mean, like, Shador should be drafted, yes, and 5th round is incredible, but, like, this is why I asked that, is because they picked Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, before Shador. So that's just where I asked, like, did they, with their last pick of the draft, did they go, hey, let's try to sell some extra tickets, let's get Shador, get some media recognition, let's get some attention, like, in their eyes they might have thought, hey, let's get some good attention back on Cleveland. And so, Kevin Stefanski, I don't think, is he in a hot seat? I don't think so. Some people might look at him and say, yeah, he's in the hot seat, but I'm looking at Stefanski, I'm saying, what could he possibly do? I mean, the offense looked atrocious last year and last 2 years, but I mean, the quarterback acted like he didn't want to be there. Your weapons weren't fantastic. You have Nick Chubb, but Nick Chubb has been injured, unfortunately, so if they're going to do the scapegoat, if the next scapegoat is either going to be Joe Flacco or Kevin Stefanski, and they're just going to move on, and soon it's going to be Shador, so I don't know what they're going to do there. I can't stand the Browns.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just want to touch on one thing that you mentioned there with Kevin Stefanski. For me, what people may not know is the past 2 seasons it hasn't been Kevin Stefanski's offense. They brought in Ken Dorsey from the Bills to try to maximize what Deshaun Watson's good at. Kevin Stefanski is built off of a mobile running game that's a vertical deep threat with his scheme. And Kevin Stefanski's always been from the West Coast family. Think all the way back to the Bill Walsh days from the 49ers out in the 90s. He builds that off a play-action, wide zone running scheme. That is Kevin Stefanski's MO. Well, Deshaun Watson comes from Bill O'Brien, college, spread them out, run around, throw it deep, and a Q power run game. So for 2 seasons, the offense looking like crap. Kevin Stefanski's given up play calling. He took it back, but it hasn't been his offense. So you've just had kind of a crapshoot. And for me, if there's going to be a scapegoat, and I don't know why it's talked about enough, is your GM, Andrew Berry, since he has been hired, has just committed malpractice as a GM. And that's where I always go back to, is it the owner or is it the GM? Or is it both? If in a perfect world, Browns fans, I'd fire both of them, get rid of them, start new. But anyways, you got to let us know. Let us know on Twitter. Follow us there at the Sideline Journal. Let us know on Instagram. What do you think about the state of your franchise? We'd love to know.
I'd start off with the Steelers. I mean, we got a lot of fans coming for Mike Tomlin's head. You know, he can't get it done. After coming off another wild card loss, you know, they made the playoffs, hooray, but they keep on losing first round exits. Mike Tomlin, season 19 going into, he's 62 years old. You know, 3 head coaches since 1969. The Steelers don't like moving on from their head coaches, but if you ask a fan, they might be looking into it. You know, and then some surprises. They got DK, but they traded out George Pickens to guess who?
Them boys! Yes, sir. George Pickens, man, he is a head case. Reminds me a lot of Antonio Brown from the Steelers. But he's younger, and the CTE hasn't set in yet. George Pickens is an incredible player. The draft value that was given up for my Cowboys makes me so excited. We've got a great video breakdown on Instagram and YouTube of it for... If you want to go check it out, it's about a minute long. But promise in that video we'd break it down a little more. And I mean, the reason why I love the trade for the Cowboys, if I can, go off real quick here, is CeeDee Lamb. He lines up 70% of his snaps in the slot. Most of his routes are 10 to 15 yards from the line of scrimmage, meaning he runs a lot of intermediate short routes because he's an elite route runner. George Pickens' MO is he had 50 catches for almost 1,000 yards. It was 930, but he averages close to 20 yards a catch. He is a deep vertical threat that plays through the football. He attacks the football, and he has elite first level separation, meaning 0 to 5 yards. He separates immediately. He gets vertical, and why it always looks like he has contested catches is because he separates so quickly at the line of scrimmage. And I think just the Steelers quarterbacks would throw it not on pace, not on time, not with enough accuracy to where he'd end up having to play through the football. So, I mean, I'm really excited for the Cowboys, but kind of transitioning it back to the Steelers, you can kind of see why the Steelers made the trade. Mike Tomlin is the Steelers. As long as he's the coach, he's the face of the franchise. It's Mike Tomlin. Since Ben Roethlisberger retired, it is him as the face of the franchise. And if you're butting heads with your head coach, who's the face of your team, you do a lot of the same things as DK Metcalf. They are a very similar type of wide receiver. You're coming up on your rookie extension where they're going to have to pay you a ridiculous amount of money after they just paid DK Metcalf. You start to see what led to him being traded. Now, Steelers fans, I would love to know what you think because he should have gone probably for more than a third-round pick. And, I mean, would you prefer to have DK Metcalf and George Pickens and no Mike Tomlin? Or are you happy with what you have right now?
Yeah, I mean, that George Pickens trade was wild. I remember seeing it pop up on the screen at 6 in the morning when I was watching the Sports Center at the gym. But, George Pickens last year, he had 17 big plays, so 20 yards or more. I don't think anybody else in the Steelers had, that many. So he's a big playmaker. And then just looking at the 2024 Steelers, I mean, their top 2 quarterbacks, which they used for a while, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, gone. Najee Harris, their running back 1, who had 1,000 yards last year, gone. Oh, he's gone.
Yeah.
And George Pickens, their leading wide receiver, gone. This is a brand new team almost. You want to know who the second in receiving was last year for the Steelers? Take a guess.
I'd love to know. Calvin Austin is my guess.
No, he was third.
Really?
Pat Ryerman was second in receiving yards.
Really? I wouldn't have guessed that. I would not. No.
So this team is going to be brand new, out of the tunnel week 1. I'm probably going to trust Mike Tomlin to get the boys ready. But, looking at last year, past few years maybe, it's crazy that an edge rusher can be so impactful in the game. But when TJ Watt plays, everybody else plays better. And when he doesn't, they usually lose. So
yeah,
it's crazy that the entire team's outlook on the season can rely on TJ Watt staying healthy.
100%. Something that I do think is interesting is that you kind of mentioned is they're kind of going over an offensive identity remake. And going 9-8 last season, it looked like Russ was cooking, he fell off late, losing the wild card round, and they decided to completely rechange their offense. For y'all that don't remember, Arthur Smith is their offensive coordinator. He cut his teeth in the league being the OC for the Titans. Then he's a 7-10 head coach for 3 seasons with the Falcons, and now he's caught on with the Steelers. And when his offense was cooking, he had a big physical running back in Derrick Henry. He had a big physical explosive wide receiver in A.J. Brown. He had a mid-tier solid offensive line. He had a really talented tight end. And then he had a quarterback that could play point guard. If you look at the Steelers currently, you can see how they're trying to replicate it. The Steelers' offensive line, it's not terrible. I wouldn't say it's great. I think PFF graded them out as the 18th overall unit in 2024, and they've retained a lot of the same pieces. Look at the running backs. They've got a good stable with Caleb Johnson. That's their big bruiser. They drafted in the 3rd round that I like.
Yeah.
Really like him. Then Jalen Warren, who they're saying he's going to be the running back 1. I don't know if that's going to stick.
He's a serviceable 2 running back. He's a very good running back 2.
For sure. But, I mean, you've got a stable there. DK Metcalf, him and A.J. Brown are very similar type players. I think A.J. Brown's a better complete football player, but as a wide receiver, they have similar skill sets. And then it's the big question mark. What are they going to do at quarterback? That's where we go to the Aaron Rodgers watch. That's the missing element to this offense. If they're going to complete their offensive remake identity for what Arthur Smith wants, to get all of his elements there, just like the 2019-2018 Titans had, Aaron Rodgers is that missing piece.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable to think if they were going to start the season with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, and like rush Aaron Rodgers off. I mean, yeah, he's old, 41 years old. Didn't look fantastic with the Jets. There's times where you're like, oh yeah, this guy still got it. But was it the Jets, or the Jets just bad? I mean, like, you know, I'll go and say, look at Brett Favre when he was on the Jets, and then when he went to the Vikings, he almost had a, MVP season.
Yeah.
So, maybe, and I know Rodgers and Mike Tomlin probably get along. The wide receiver room is not fantastic, but, they have some pieces to put together. And if they start the season just with Mason Rudolph as QB1, it's going to be absurd.
Well, it is, but I mean, their receiver room isn't as terrible as you think it is. I mean, Pat Freiermuth, DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, Robert Woods, Jalen Warren, and Caleb Johnson as the skill talent is not terrible. It's not elite. It's not terrible. But Arthur Smith, the way his offense works, is he just needs one X factor, and you have that in DK Metcalf. And he needs one smart quarterback to be able to distribute it. And I think he'll get that with Aaron Rodgers. And I mean, it's encouraging for Steelers fans because you see Aaron Rodgers working out with George Pickens in the offseason. They drafted a really great dude in the 6th round of Will Howard that's going to kind of be the glue in the quarterback room, someone that has long-term potential if Aaron Rodgers is there for a season or 2. You have Mason Rudolph, franchise, familiar face there. So, I mean, that to me is I call it the Rodgers enigma kind of, for his documentary. Is he going to go away from his Iowa Husker trips and off the Joe Rogan podcast and back to, playing football and being a quarterback? Or is it still just going to be kind of a sideshow? So, I think that's what we're looking for with the Steelers. Defensively, which you kind of touched on, they're going to go where TJ Watt goes. And, I mean, I would love to know what that stat is. I'm sure our editing team's going to find that out for us, what their record is when TJ Watt's healthy and plays. I think it's like they have a 60% win percentage or something. But it's absurd. And, I mean, I love the Derek Harmon pick that y'all had because he's going to get mentored by Cameron Hayward. It's going to really make your front seven the future of it, where it's going. I really like that pick.
Yeah, let me just, TJ Watt last season, not his best season, but still very dominant. He had 11.5 sacks, 19 TFLs, 40 solo tackles, 6 forced fumbles. He's a guy that, how we talked about Ashton Genty. They had 9 in the box in college. They put 9 in the box on, 1st and 10. Well, with a guy like TJ Watt, when you're setting up the offense, you're like, all right, which side is he on? Well, that's what we're running to. All right, let's flip it. He's just that powerful. He's going to require a double team or a tight end to come off the edge and hit him too, or the running back right behind the guard or the tackle. He's just a beast. And then, if you just want to talk about some other highs of the season, Chris Boswell he set the franchise record season for most field goals in the season. He went 41 for 44. He had on fantasy. Wasn't as good as Brandon Aubrey a couple years ago, but still pretty good.
Picked him up late. It was great. Yeah. Love Chris Boswell.
Farmouth led the team with 7 touchdown receptions. So, fun fact too is they did not have a 1,000-yard receiver last year. So that's why I say that the wide receiver room is not good, not great.
No, for sure. Like I said, I think it's going to be average to league average. But something that I think that you kind of pointed out with what the Derek Harmon edition is going to do that I want to touch on is a lot of people don't know the reason that the Steelers kind of focused in on their front 7 with Patrick Queen, Derek Harmon, Cameron Hayward, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith is against the Ravens in the wild card round. They gave up almost 300 rushing yards, 294, and it was the downfall of their team. And that's why they drafted Jack Sawyer in the later rounds as well. They wanted to invest and remake their front 7. And it's kind of weird if you think about it with the Steelers. They're known for the physicality and the way that they are built in the trenches, and it's kind of been a Band-Aid patch-make situation for them. My question for you, maybe for our viewers, but I would love your opinion on it as well, Liam, is in our mock draft, I mocked them taking Jackson Dart at 21. Giants ended up taking him at 25. Do you think that they're better off with what they've probably done, taking Aaron Rodgers free agency and signing Will Howard I flip-flopped, signing Aaron Rodgers, drafting Will Howard in the 6th round, or should have they drafted a young quarterback in this draft?
I mean, I'd look at their window. That's the first thing I thought of right away. Look at their window of winning a Super Bowl, because that's what we all care about. With Rodgers, that window's pretty small. Like 2 years max. I don't see it much more than that. So could they win a Super Bowl with that roster with Rodgers if they just added him? I don't think so. I mean, they have a pretty good defense. Definitely above average. TJ Watt's phenomenal. They got a good defense, right? But that offense I don't see it being a Super Bowl caliber offense. So if they go, I think, what you said about drafting Jackson Dart, keeping Pickens, keeping Young, let's kind of maybe rebuild here. I think that might have been a better option, definitely long term, and you could have definitely won some games now. But just this, if they go for this Rodgers with DK, get rid of Pickens, I just don't see their offense being capable of putting up enough points to beat the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bengals even, because that would be a high-scoring game. It's just, to me, this is another team right now. They're kind of in a limbo, and it kind of sucks for the Steelers fans because some of my best friends are Steelers fans. But it may look like a dark road for a little bit.
Yeah, because that's the deal. Like maybe we're nearing finally the end of the Mike Tomlin era because he didn't want to go through a rebuild. He wanted to write it out. And if you got a 2-year window, what do the Steelers look like in 2 years? Anyway, Steelers Nation, Team Rodgers or Team Drafted QB? You need to let us know down below in the comments on Twitter. We want to hear your takes. And now we have the Ravens, the darling of the division. They have the runner-up in MVP voting, Lamar Jackson, who just came off his best season yet. 48 total touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 12-5 record, make a run all the way to the AFC Championship game. But then the divisional round, the AFC divisional round. But then you lose to the MVP, Josh Allen, off of an overtime catch loss with Mark Andrews dropping the pass. And so, Ravens fans, off another season of heartbreak. You had a great year with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, but now Lamar Jackson sits at a 2-4 postseason record with only one AFC Championship appearance. Where do you go from here?
Only up. I think this team is pretty stacked for the AFC. Definitely my choice for the AFC North winners. Zay Flowers, love that guy. It's his 2nd year. He had 1,000 yards, so great for him. Going into his 3rd year, he's really the #1 target in that wide receiver room. I know they have D-Hop, but I would still go Zay. Rashad Bateman's a deep threat. You've got great tight ends. You just re-signed Derrick Henry. The running back room, it's not deep. You got Justice Hill and then, Caden Mitchell, but you don't need that if you got Derrick Henry. And Lamar last year, he proved that he is a passing quarterback. He's not just an athlete quarterback. He's not a mobile quarterback. The guy proved that he can be a pocket passer. He can prove that he can do both very well. And that's why it makes him one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the league and why the Ravens are so good as they are.
100%. I mean, I love Todd Monken's offensive scheme. He maximizes what Lamar Jackson's good at. It allows him to look at half-field reads. He splits the field into halves and then quarters for Lamar Jackson. So, I mean, his progressions, it's not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lamar Jackson's sitting there. He's reading the linebacker off an RPO if he's going to pull or run it. Then he's transitioning his eyes. Is the safety down? Is it out? Where's the alley at? Okay, I'm going to make my throw. I love what he's done. If you watch Lamar Jackson's film from this season, his eyes are in a really great place. His feet matches his arms and matches his eyes. And normally Lamar Jackson's known for, I'm going to look at my first progression and look to run. And this season, I think his actual scrambling yards was the lowest of his career. He still almost had 1,000 rushing yards, but a lot of it's off of designed runs or RPO runs. It's not just from him Showtime going to run around and scramble. He's actually operating in a flow and structure of an offense, which is going to take the Ravens farther because as playoff defenses tighten up, as schemes get more schemy, as a coach would say, there's not really a better word for it. If he's able to dissect the defense, read it, and make the throws that he needs to make, it's going to make Ravens fans excited. What scares me, though, with the Ravens is their offensive line's getting older. Ronnie Stanley is another year older. I think his play is starting to slip. I think the interior offensive line, Tyler Linderbaum, you declined the fourth-year option. Are you going to be able to sign him to an extension? You're starting to approach the salary cap. Or are you going to keep him? I mean, for me, that's the cracks that I'm starting to see for the Ravens. And then defensively, the secondary. You've got talented players there. Draft Malachi Starks, pair him up with Kyle Hamilton, trying to make a really good safety duo. But the Bengals, this is the kind of team they love to play because they get to try to score 1 million points. What are you going to do to shore up your secondary? Is that going to continue to be the kryptonite of this team?
I don't know. Like you said, their offensive line, you're kind of worried about them. For that to be a worry is still pretty good because that offensive line is not bad.
No, not at all. I'm worried because of their age.
Yeah, I guess so. But they'll pick up a free agent next year and draft him, and they'll be fine, right? And then you brought up the secondary. I mean, that secondary is scary to me. The two guys you mentioned, Starks and Hamilton, but don't forget about Humphrey. I mean, he had 6 interceptions last year. He is locked down. And then they got Kyle Van Noy and Raquan Smith. And then they just picked up Mike Green. I mean, that defense is solid, too. They're just overall stacked, I think, everywhere. Really well balanced in the pass and the run, which is why, they're going to be a top 4 team in the AFC definitely this year. And definitely, I'm going to say they're going to punish the AFC North.
Man, you're a lot higher on the Ravens than I am. I think it's hard year over year without changing the formula to chase that success. I think this season's going to be kind of an interesting one for them. Are they going to finally break through that wall that's keeping them that playoff hump?
They're going to get nailed.
What scares me for them is if there's a vast improvement from the Bengals, if there's vast improvement from the Steelers, and then a lot of the teams in the AFC are similar to where they're at, and they go into the playoffs not 12-5, 13-4, the high seed. It's 10-7, 11-6, and they're having to play more road games. And I guess it's really going to just be the story with them. Is are they going to finally be able to overcome that hump at the playoffs? Is Lamar Jackson going to rise to the occasion? Is their offense going to rise to the occasion? Is the defense as talented as they are they going to be able to stop Patrick Mahomes? Are they going to be able to stop Josh Allen? Are they going to be able to stop Joe Burrow? Are Are they going to be able to stop Justin Herbert? Are they going to be able to stop all these talented quarterbacks in this division? I mean, and then there's Bo Nix here too, coming in with the Broncos. He's rising up. I mean, Geno Smith with the Raiders, if they make it in as a 7th seed, that is a respectable quarterback, respectable team. There's just a lot of parity currently in the AFC, and this is always the most interesting stat for me when it comes to teams. It's 70% of the teams that made the playoffs last season won't make it again this season. So there's always teams that show up, rise and fall, progress, regress. And the Ravens, for me, as talented as they are, what if they get hit with the injury bug? What if Lamar Jackson isn't as talented or doesn't have as great of a season as we think he's capable of having? And I just think, for me, I could see some regression happen.
Man, I don't see with the Ravens, like you said, or like I said, getting stale maybe. I don't think so. I think they're just so talented, and I think they have brought in new, fresh breaths of air. Zay Flowers, this is his only 3rd year. They just brought in D-Hop, too. And Isaiah Likely, he's a breath of fresh air for Mark Andrews. So the weapons on the offense, I think they'll be fine. Lamar is coming off his best passing season, so let's now see what if, Harbaugh's like, well, let's try to even it out maybe. And then we see just a dynamic balance. It was pretty balanced last year, but maybe more dynamic on offense between Lamar's passing and rushing. And then don't forget, it's the year of the running back mix. I don't know if you check your calendar, but Derrick Henry with Picard in front of him might be scary. So I think the Ravens will be fine.
I mean, how about that guy, Derrick Henry? He's defying all the odds. He's 31 years old, and they just signed him to the richest contract ever for a running back over the age of 30. 2 years, $30 million, 25 of it's guaranteed. So they obviously think he's going to hold up and continue playing at the level that he's playing at. And I'm even hearing that, there's going to be rumors for a Lamar Jackson extension pending, because his cap hit's going to be 77 million, and they're going to have to take it down. So I mean, I would agree it's kind of like what I think the Bengals should do with Trey Hendrickson, back up the Brinks truck, pay whatever money the man asked for, and move on. But Lamar Jackson's different. He's a legitimate. There's 4 guys in the league, and they all have to be in the AFC. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. Whatever money they ask for, you give it to them, and you pray to God that it makes them happy. So, I mean, Ravens flock. Does Lamar Jackson finally get the Super Bowl ring this season? Is this the season since 2022 or since 2012 that y'all want? You got to let us know. Let us know down in the comments. Maybe add us on Twitter and let us know.
So Mason, the Bengals last year, Triple Crown winner out of Jamar Chase. You had the leader in passing yards with Joe Burrow, and you had the leader in sacks with Trey Hendrickson. So they went undefeated, right? Or did they lose every single game by what it felt like 1 point, 2 points? Every game was a one-possession game, and they were, and most of the time, the loser of that. When it got really serious and their season, they almost ended. They decided to kick it in and get, I think, 5 straight wins or 4 straight wins to end out the season to try to get their way into the playoffs, but they just came up short. So, Mason, this offseason, what have they been doing to help that out to where their defense can maybe stop some people and their offense can keep it going?
They've done none of that. Instead, they've spent all of their money on offense. I guess they've decided this is flag football now, and we're just going to score 100 points. The first one to 100 wins. I mean, they paid Jamar Chase the most money ever for a non-quarterback, $40-something million. Then they go and they pay their wide receiver too, and I love T. Higgins, I do. But they pay him $32 million. So you got 2 wide receivers making $72 million. Then you got your quarterback making $55 million. So an NFL cap space per season right now is projected at $290 million. You've got 2 wideouts and a quarterback making close to $160 million. I'm not a math wizard, but that's almost over half of your entire cap space to 3 players on offense that don't block or tackle, which are the fundamental parts of the game of football.
Yeah, I mean, that's just crazy to me. The Bengals, they'll spend everything for their playmakers, which is fun to have, right? But it's not what you need. I mean, we need linemen and we need defense to stop. But instead, you got a legendary quarterback and you got a fantastic wide receiver, and he got a fantastic wide receiver too. But I mean, like, wouldn't you rather divvy that out to an O-line, help block, take one from the Chargers and what they did with Joe Alt when everybody wanted them to get a wide receiver, they went lineman, and now look at them, they're looking pretty good. And and for the defense, your best player on defense last year is asking for a little pay raise, and you're refusing to give it to him because you spent all your money on the offense. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, he wasn't just, the best player on the defense. He was one of the best impactful players in the NFL.
First team All-Pro, Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, led in sacks. So I don't understand why don't they just say, oh yeah, we're the only one on defense that helped us out. Here you go. Instead they're going to try to play the waiting game with him. I think it's going to work out pretty. They just did this last year with Jamar, and you'd rather just get it settled fast, but they refused to do that. And then what happened with the coaches this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, Lou Armaro, I think he's actually really respected defensive coordinator. He caught on with another NFL team here, and I mean, you decide to get rid of them and fire him. Sure, it wasn't, your defense was terrible. You get it. You replace him with a coach out of Boston College, a young defensive coordinator. I don't know if I'd love it, but you're trying to do something new. But who do you think he's going to build his defense around? Probably your sack leader from last season. But no. Instead, you're going to get into contract disputes with him. You're not going to prioritize him through the offseason. Where now he's saying he's not even going to play. And for y'all that don't know the story with Trey Hendrickson, he signed a 1+1 deal basically with the intention of, hey, I'm going to play under this salary of $20 million last season, and we're going to negotiate this offseason. Instead, they haven't negotiated with him at all, so he leads the league in sacks with 17.5. The past 3 seasons, he is top 3 behind Micah Parsons, he's top 4 behind Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, and T.J. Watt in sacks. Then it's Trey Hendrickson at 4. He just led the league in 17.5 sacks, and you're going to pay him 13th? With $15.8 million. Josh Sweat, who's never had a 10-sack season, just got paid almost $20 million annually to go play for the Cardinals. And you're going to try to sit there and tell Trey Hendrickson to not even make that? That's insane. And with the restructures they just did with Joe Burrow, they've got the cap space to make it work. I just went on this long tangent about them paying all their offensive players. Sure, you did that. It sucks. You're going to have a lot of finance issues in the future if you don't restructure or trade or end up being in cap hell like the Saints are. But if your window's right now with Joe Burrow, you just paid those guys like you're going to win football games now. You can't just forget the other side of the ball, and you got to pay the man what he's worth.
Yeah, I mean, that whole Bengals organization, I mean, are they taking the playbook out of the Browns with having this problem? I mean, with this delay stuff that they've been doing, it hurts them even more in the future. Because, I mean, you could have paid T. Higgins maybe a little less if you re-signed him when he asked for it, and Jamar probably the same. But then, people go out, Justin Jefferson gets new deals, or they look around the market and things change, and they end up actually being way more valuable than what you thought a year ago. So they don't have to pay more. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, the Bengals, it's looking pretty tough right now. You re-signed Mike Gesicki, you signed T.J. Slayton, Lucas Patrick, those are Packer guys. Tons of linebackers and D-line. And then you drafted Shamar Stewart, who, he's a big guy, he's physical, but it's just, production was just, like, really, this is a first-round pick out of Texas A&M. Great guy, but, I mean, it's just, is he the replacement for Hendrickson, or is he the replacement for Hubbard? Yeah, the Bengals defense has a whole lot of holes in it, and I guess they're going to do the same exact thing they did last year. They're just going to try to score 50 points and just try to maybe win by 1. Don't like that game plan.
Yeah, I mean, they're setting up the new DC Al Golden, not really for success, because, I mean, we're starting to talk a lot about money management, the way that they pay players, the way that they draft players, the way their coaching philosophy is, and I guess back to how we were talking about the Browns. Is it symptomatic of their ownership? The Bungle family historically has been known as very cheap ownership, very cheap with their franchise. You can go all the way back to Carson Palmer. The reason he left is they wouldn't pay their franchise quarterback. They fixed that mistake with Joe Burrow, and they pay him. But now you're starting to see the symptoms of like, okay, well, you've paid this quarterback to make him happy. You've paid his wide receiver to make him happy. You're wanting to keep him so happy, you pay the wide receiver too all sorts of money. And so you've got a very interesting power dynamic growing here between ownership and the quarterback. And now you go look at the defense and you start to see the symptoms through the cracks of that. You're not paying your franchise edge rusher. You sign a young, inexperienced defensive coordinator that I'm already seeing as the early scapegoat again, so Zach Taylor can keep his job. And that's my hot take. Zach Taylor, I think, is an awful head coach. I think the only reason he has a job is because he has Joe Burrow. You can see it from his coaching tree. Brian Callahan, who got a job because of Joe Burrow with the Titans, he's ass. I think he's going to be fired, and it's going to suck for Cam Ward. But kind of back on track here with the defense, looking at Shamar Stewart, he is a rookie first-round draft pick. Their contracts are literally scaled to be affordable, and the only thing that you have to talk about with them is guaranteed money. And the way the league's going is it's such at a reduced rate that the bonus money that you're going to pay out, most of it's up front. They're trying to not even pay him half of his contract, which is like $8 million in bonus money up front, which is ridiculous. And it shows that their ownership is cash poor. And if they're cash poor, there's no way they're going to be able to sign Trey Hendrickson for the money that he's guaranteed. And so I think they're going to end up trading Trey Hendrickson because of this. I think that's what the symptoms of their ownership are showing. And if they're going to do that, where does Trey Hendrickson go?
I would love for him to come to Green Bay, but I don't think we can afford that. You said their defense coordinator is probably going to be their scapegoat. I mean, what do you want him to do? He's playing chess with all pawns, so he's already at a disadvantage. I don't mean that to be too mean. That's what it's kind of like with this defense right now. It's just out of sync, and they don't have, the best people in the right positions. So, any of these guys might go over to another team, and would they start? I don't know. And then you talk about, Joe Burrow has, they have their expensive contracts, and they're going to be sitting on a throne way up on a hill for the rest of their days. But then, the Bengals are going to have to go ask for them to, hey, can you restructure your contract so you could sign some players? I mean, this is ridiculous. Your first-round pick you can't even afford right now. The Bengals right now are just a good example of why you can't procrastinate. Because look what their future is looking worse and worse the more they go on with it, with the procrastination to sign the guys when they ask for it instead of waiting because they don't want to then. And then they have to do it more later, and look at this. It's just all falling apart. I love the Bengals. Joe Burrow, I'm a huge fan of, and Jamar Chase. They make some fun football to watch. But, the fans are not going to like it if, they're putting up Joe Burrow's going to pass for 5,000 yards this year. Jamar's going to get another triple crown, and they're not even going to make the playoffs again. The fans are not going to like that. So they got to do something. It's got to start with the defense, in my opinion, rather than the offense now. But it's just too expensive to me. So I don't know what they're going to do.
And so, that begs the question then with Burrow's prime, you're saying the future is looking worse and worse for him. My question that I pose to the viewers, but then you too, is Cincy going to waste Burrow's prime because of their weak defense? Or is Burrow not going to be the next Dan Marino and they're going to be able to overcome all of it and make the playoffs?
Look, they made the Super Bowl when they played the Rams. They made that, and their defense not a lot of people liked. Everybody was making fun of Eli Apple before.
Real quick interjection there, though. Joe Burrow was on his rookie contract, and they had a lot of great $5 to $10 million defenders on their defense on good contracts because they were able to pay their defense, and they made the Super Bowl. I don't think they're ever going to make the Super Bowl again with the money that they're paying Joe Burrow.
Yeah, so I guess Dan Marino would be a great comparison right now. Joe Burrow is a fantastic quarterback, pocket passer, and he's even showed he has some wheels. Last season he did a naked bootleg and took it, I think 50, maybe 60 yards. But Joe Burrow is a fantastic quarterback, and he's going to be so exciting to watch, and he's going to give you opportunities to win almost every single game. But unfortunately, it's just not the right pieces around him, and so they're going to Dan Marino him. Joe Burrow might never go to the Super Bowl again. I could see that, or at least it's going to take 10 years, and is he going to want to be 42 playing in the NFL, just trying to go back to the Super Bowl that he did when he was on his rookie contract?
I know I hate to be such a Debbie Downer because the Bengals, you do have stuff to be excited about. You did try to make a change on defense. Maybe you do find a way to sign these guys. Maybe Joe Burrow and that passing game is so explosive and some stuff injury luck wise shakes your way and you make a magical run again. But I just want to kind of leave you guys with some questions like you franchise tag T. Higgins and then you signed a big extension. Do y'all think it was worth it? Please let us know. And then lastly, do y'all think you're going to pay Hendrickson? Do you want to pay Hendrickson or would you rather trade him? Let us know down in the comments. Add us on Twitter. Our Warroom analyst says trade him selfishly for the Packers. I think if he is traded, he's going to go to a rival, the Lions. That's where I think he's going to get traded if he's traded. We'll see. Y'all debate us and let us know down in the comments below. All right, guys. So now we're going to kind of do the Warroom report on the division. Gonna have the projected division records, the winners, their playoff records, kind of where we see them finishing up. And our Warroom analyst, Liam Carr, has got the breakdown for us.
Look, so for just division records, I'm going to start off with the Ravens. And I think the Ravens are going to sweep the division this year. They're going to go 6.
What?
This is usually a highly competitive division, but I think this year the Ravens are just so much far ahead from the others. They go 6-0.
In this war zone of a division, you don't even have them splitting a game with anybody?
No, I mean, most years you'd say, yeah. I would, I believe that in a division like this, yes, there's usually a split, and most teams usually go 500 except for the Browns. But no, I think the Bengals, their defense is too lacking. Is Trey Anderson going to sit out? Even if he stays in, I just think the Ravens are going to outscore them a little bit. Ravens defense will get a stop or two on the Bengals. It'll be another fun, close one, but they won't get it done. Steelers, even with A-Rod, I don't think so. And then the Browns, no, not even close. So that's why I got the Ravens 6-0.
Oh, man, y'all heard it there first. The stat guru, the Warroom analyst, Liam, has the Ravens going 6-0. I don't agree with that at all, but maybe that's what the numbers and stats are saying. That's what the projections are saying. So that's the official Warroom projection for the Ravens. They're going to go 6-0 in the division.
Bengals, I got going even 3-3. Yeah,
It's fair. It's fair.
They'll definitely split. I guess I got them winning 2 against the Steelers, and then they're gonna go undefeated. Just winning 1 against the Steelers, then going undefeated with the Browns. Don't see the Browns winning at all. Let me just finish this out. Steelers, I got 2-4, which is not great. Is Mike Tomlin? Are they gonna be asking for his head? And then the Browns, I got 1-5. I think they just slipped one by the Steelers. Maybe like a fluke game. Maybe T.J. Watt's out. Maybe whoever the quarterback is for the Steelers just has a terrible game. And the Browns are going to be able to get 1 victory out of the AFC North this year.
Man, I don't know. That's going to go against the history of the division. You know, I feel like the AFC North always is brutal, very competitive, very tight, feudalistic, warpath in the North, cold games in November and December that you think about where they can go any which way. They're always super competitive. You got the Bengals 3-3. I can see it because, I mean, you're saying they sweep the Browns, split games with the Steelers, and they lose late with the Ravens. That makes sense going 3-3. I would personally have them at 4-2, splitting the game with the Ravens, but maybe the Ravens, it's their year, they shore it up, and the Bengals just can't stop Lamar Jackson, and so they end up finishing 0-2. I think you hit it on the head with the Browns. I think this is a bad season for them, just waiting to happen. I think it's too competitive for them. I think that depending on how Joe Flacco shows up, or if Shador Sanders comes on, or maybe Dylan Gabriel comes on, and getting a flow and a rhythm in the offense, it could be a little competitive leaning on their defense. But the Steelers, I think they're the wild card of this. If Aaron Rodgers shows up and turns the clock back and plays the way that he can, they might not go 2-4. They might go a little bit higher. But you haven't finished at 2-4, so I mean that puts you have the division winner being the Ravens.
Yes, it does. I think everybody else would agree. The Bengals, they just probably can't get it done. The Steelers, this is one of the worst Steelers teams we've seen in a while. And then the Browns they are right now the same old Browns. So really just a cakewalk for the Ravens. It's still a tough division, but I think the Ravens are top 14 in the AFC 100%. Maybe top 3. I didn't think of that much, but they're one of the best teams in the NFL. So when you're able to do that in a division that's maybe got some problems within itself, going undefeated isn't going to be too much to ask for.
My only one counter, and I kind of mentioned it, Steelers are the wild card if they're more competitive, but if Hendrickson re-signs, Shamar Stewart pans out, the defense is competitive, the Bengals might be able to steal this division late. But we have the Ravens winning the division. For me, and I'll go ahead and stay on the table here for the AFC North, for how competitive they normally are, for where the rosters are at, and just the way that I see the season going, I think you're going to have 2 playoff teams come out of this division. Historically, the AFC North is actually normally sent 3 out of the past 4 seasons. Last season, the only time they sent 2 instead of 3. I'm going to have it be 2 again, and I'm going to have it be the Ravens and the Bengals. And for me, why I have that is you got the Ravens winning the division. I think you'll have the Bengals sneak in late as a 6th or 7th seed, and I just think that the question mark for the Steelers, is it going to be Aaron Rodgers or not, and the Browns are so far away. I think that's how the division's going to shake out.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at the Ravens last year. I just want to bring that up, touch on that point one more time. They were a heel away from beating the Chiefs, right? And I think if they would have beat them that start of the season where they were struggling real bad, I think it would have been completely different if they would have started out 1-0 against the Chiefs. So, looking at last year, if they come out on fire this year and they just keep that momentum going, and they get even better in the winter months when Derrick Henry, when you don't want to hit Picard or Henry and Lamar, it's just too quick. I think the Ravens just start out better, and so then they'll have a way better year.
Well, there you go. You got a consensus here. So, I mean, our full AFC North wrap-up there is it's going to be Ravens in first place, Bengals in second, Steelers in third, Browns in fourth, with the Bengals and the Ravens making the playoffs. And kind of just shows one last look at this division. We've kind of mentioned it throughout, but kind of really taking a look at is the coaching hot seat meter for all 4 teams and all 4 head coaches. And my prediction now is that there will be no firings, but the hot seat meter goes catastrophic for the Browns, Steelers, and Bengals if they all miss the playoffs, and if the Browns is just an absolute disaster of the season.
Man, I could see. You don't think John Harbaugh is
on the hot seat? I don't see it. I don't see it. I think
some people might be blaming John for why they can't make the Super Bowl.
Really? I'm not. Ravens fans, you're gonna have to let us know then if you think that John Harbaugh is the reason. If you think John Harbaugh is holding Lamar Jackson back, let us know, because I think John Harbaugh has been the model of consistency. He's the only coach I think that's been able to rebuild without ever having to rebuild. I mean, he won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, never had a losing season until he got Lamar Jackson. I think they went 8-9 one season when Lamar Jackson was hurt. But they were able to rebuild and flip this team, and they have Lamar Jackson, and they've been playoff contenders every season that he's been the head coach. I think it's different than Mike Tomlin. I think that's the story for Mike Tomlin. If they miss the playoffs, it's a season where it's like they all been, there's 8-9, 9-8, another winning season. I think that's where the hot meter is, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think Stefanski, he's if he's going to be on the hot seat, it's mainly just because, Browns ownership and people are just pointing at him that he's the reason when it's not. Do I think Stefanski is a great coach? I think he's pretty good, but, to blame him for the Browns' woes right now is incredible. Zach Taylor, I could see him maybe warming up if, maybe the GM's fault too, because not building a great team, and then Mike Tomlin. It's getting pretty warm, you can feel it from Steelers fans. It's hard to win in this league. Everybody says that. This is so hard to just win. Mike Tomlin's been he's been better than 500 and made the playoffs pretty much almost every single year. So why are they so mad at him? Well,
yeah.
Keep on having first round exits. I mean, he's been to 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been a two. All right, he's been a two. So, I mean, Mike Tomlin's a great coach, but, these fans nowadays, they just want it now. It's not, they don't care about loyalty and how great you've been. They want it now. And when you don't give it to them this year, all Steelers fans they're just asking for one playoff win. That's really hard to do. Mike Tomlin's been keeping you there, but fans just don't like it.
It's the hardest deal being a fan. You're a prisoner of the moment, and it's what have you done for me lately? And then I really feel for a coach, from a coach's perspective. As a coach, you always look at everything. You're building, and you're going to continue to build. And it's hard to try to ever tear something down that you built. And Tomlin's built a dynasty over 17 seasons. He's never had a losing season. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's won 1. He thinks that, he knows how to continue to build and get it going in the right way, and he doesn't want to tear it down or take a step back. But hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. Hasn't been to the playoff, or hasn't, I think that is the such, hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. With Ben Roethlisberger retiring, they haven't had a franchise quarterback since. And I think for Steelers fans, the way that you can generate excitement again is if you somehow make a magical run this season. But if you don't, I could definitely see that hot seat warm. And why I say Zach Taylor is if what happens is what you think is they split the division and they go 3-3, and they somehow miss the playoffs again. Eventually it falls on the head coach. And if you're not making the playoffs, that means you're regressing. They made it to the Super Bowl, they didn't win it, and now they're regressing in Joe Burrow's prime. I think that the voices could get really loud calling for his job. All right, guys, that wraps it up. The Warroom edition, AFC North edition. We hit the Browns, talking about all off-season drama from their ownership, Shador Sanders, Myles Garrett. We looked at the Steelers. Will they sign Aaron Rodgers? Will Mike Tomlin be fired? Who knows? We looked at the Ravens, saying that Lamar Jackson is going to overcome those woes and prove that he can win a Super Bowl. And then we looked at the Bengals. Bengals fans, you're going to have to let us know. I think that they're a big question mark where they're going to go from here. But Liam, you got the scoop on what the next episode of the War Room is going to be.
Man, next week I'm excited for who we're going to be breaking down. We're going to be going over the AFC, staying there. But we're going out west. We got the Chiefs, the Chargers, we got the Raiders, and we got the Broncos. Is Bo Nix up and coming? The Raiders have a brand new face with Geno and Ashton Genty, and Brock Bowers is coming off an historic rookie season. Are the Chiefs going to be the Chiefs still?
Who knows? Cracks of the dynasty.
Stuff to talk about.
Absolutely. So, follow us along throughout the week. We're going to continue the Sideline Files journey. We're going to be posting that on all the socials. Let us know on Twitter. Follow us there at the Sideline Journal. The same thing on all socials. And I just want to leave you with this. Liam, I'm betting you right now, if the Ravens somehow sweep the Bengals, I will get you a case of Happy Dads.
Hey, I'll take that bet. Hey, and also, if the Browns do upset the Bengals, I'll get you a pad of energy drinks, whichever one you want.
Hashtag Rain Energy, sponsor us, please. All right, man. Y'all check out the next episode. Peace.
See you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the War Room podcast presented by the Sideline Journal. Make sure to check us out on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and TikTok. We are a social media brand founded by college football coaches wanting to provide a different take on sports media discourse. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode and you'll tune in for next week. Peace.